What's up everyone and welcome back to the MMA Zone. Today, let's get started with Michael Chandler doesn't mind waiting for Conor McGregor to return. After he knocked out Tony Ferguson with a front teep to the face, Michael Chandler called out Conor McGregor to be his first opponent whenever the Irishman gets back into the octagon. It's been a year since we've last seen Conor when he broke his leg in a fight against Dustin Poirier. It was his third loss in his last 4 fights, dating back to 2018. Still, Conor remains a massive fan favorite and a big draw, so Chandler, naturally, would want to get the big money fight. But how long is he willing to wait? Chandler doesn't have any fight lined up at the moment. Still, this is what he told TMZ about how long he could possibly wait for Conor to return.
And then subsequently he comes out and says he wants to fight me. I'll definitely wait till January, February. But at this point, I mean, if he's not coming back and there's no guarantee that that fight is happening, to put those pieces of the puzzle together to make those two stars align at the right time, at the right place, I would probably have to move on.
Chandler goes on to say that while he believes this fight will eventually take place, he's not sure if this would happen next or upon Conor's return. He also gives Conor the benefit of the doubt over the injury. Conor snapped his leg in half during his trilogy fight against Dustin Poirier in July of last year. And while others have come back from a similar injury sooner than Conor, Chandler states that the extent of Conor's injury isn't truly known, as his management team could be holding back some information so as not to upset fans on his actual timeline, or if there was some setback that no one knows about. At this stage, Chandler simply says he just wants to know what the timeline truly is, but because he's not sure, he's open to waiting longer for this big money fight, given how big this could actually be in terms of promotion. What do you think about Chandler's comments regarding Conor's timeline? And do you think this would be a great fight for Conor when he gets back to action? Don't forget to take a second to hit that like button and subscribe to the MMA Zone to stay up to date on all the latest fight news. Henry Cejudo gives advice to Ronald MethDonald. This week, the UFC announced that former bantamweight champion Peter Yan will be taking on Sean O'Malley in what will be Sugar's toughest test to date. O'Malley is ranked 13th in the division, while Yan is still ranked as the #1 contender. But Yan is coming off a split decision loss to undisputed champion Aljamain Sterling at UFC 273 in April. O'Malley, meanwhile, is a fan favorite and super popular. He's been able to rack up a 7-win, 1-loss record in the UFC, including 3 straight victories and 1 no contest in his last 4 outings. Immediately after his last fight ended in a no contest due to eye pokes, O'Malley was doing an interview. Former champion Henry Cejudo was just a few feet away and started heckling O'Malley, poking fun at him and kind of goading him to get into a fight with him. While O'Malley didn't seem to back down, it was a bit awkward and it led to some speculation that Cejudo could one day meet O'Malley in the octagon, since Triple C continues to state that he's returning to the UFC and has already entered the USADA testing protocol. But after the Yan O'Malley fight was announced, Cejudo took the opportunity to make a tweet once again poking fun at O'Malley and offering some tips. This is what he stated in the tweet. "Hey Sean O'Malley, I thought we were going to fight, but I get it, Peter Yan is a more winnable opponent for you. Here's some free advice, Ronald MethDonald. I think you have a chance to win if you use your grappling." Then in the accompanying video that Triple C posted, this is what he predicted.
Is it a winnable fight? It could be, but you did a good job of not picking Triple C. But that being said, I'm leaning towards Peter Yan. He's going to bring the fight. He's going to keep it on his feet. He's going to take the distance from you. And those are my 2 cents.
O'Malley has stated in the past that his grappling prowess is his secret weapon, as he's trained with some high-level grapplers, including the likes of Gilbert Melendez and Taquinho. Yan and O'Malley will meet at UFC 280 on October 22nd in Abu Dhabi, which is the first time O'Malley will be fighting outside of the United States. What do you think about Cejudo's comments here? And who's your early favorite to win the Yan O'Malley bantamweight fight? Hasim Rahman Jr. calls Dana White fake and happy that Jake Paul is exposing him. With his fight against Jake Paul edging closer and closer, Hasim Rahman Jr. is showing that he doesn't hold back in his responses. It seems more and more people are being asked about what's happening in this fight, and that includes UFC President Dana White. In a recent interview, White stated that he was happy that Paul was finally fighting a real boxer, and that he probably picked Hasim Rahman Jr. because he was knocked out in his last outing. But in response to this, Rahman is not letting up. Rahman Jr. was not knocked out unconscious, but his last fight ended in a standing TKO. But he went on to blast White further. Case in point, this is what Rahman Jr. had to say about White. He would never talk to me like that to my face. He's one of the fakest people in combat sports, so I'm actually glad that Jake Paul has been exposing him as far as how fake he is in the combat sports world. What do you think about this whole thing? Tito Ortiz made no money in his UFC debut. May 30th, 1997 was when Tito Ortiz made his official MMA debut, as well as his debut in the UFC. Coming over from wrestling, having trained with Tank Abbott, Ortiz was green behind the ears, but so was pretty much everyone else at the time. MMA was an emerging sport, was being described as human cockfighting. The rules were slightly different, the format was a little different, but MMA was here. Ortiz, in a recent interview, talked recently about his early career and how he fought for free that night. This is what he said in a recent interview with Chris Van Vliet.
If they do this interim thing, if that happens, they'll just make it for a bigger fight anyway, so I don't mind. So then you've got a clear number one guy. Everyone's going to be screaming their name after whoever wins out of Josh Emmett and Yair Rodriguez. Then they can both say they're fighting for a belt anyway. They can go there, and then when we fight, it's another big fight.
Ortiz fought and beat his first opponent that night, Wes Albritton. He needed only 30 seconds to beat him by TKO. He moved on in the tournament to face Guy Metzger later that night, but he lost via submission in the first round. Still, Ortiz looks back at those days fondly. What do you think about Ortiz's admission that he fought for free in his UFC debut? Cain Velasquez receiving support from Khabib, Yair Rodriguez, and Dana White. It's no secret that former heavyweight champion Cain Velasquez is receiving a ton of support from the MMA community and fighters from across promotions. Cain Velasquez is being charged with attempted murder and faces over 20 years in prison if convicted. He's accused of going after Harry Goularte, chasing him down with his car, and shooting at him. Goularte is accused of molesting one of Cain's young relatives multiple times at a daycare facility. Once Cain found that Goularte was allowed to post bail after he was arrested for the heinous crime, he allegedly engaged in a high-speed chase and allegedly fired a handgun into the car, which missed Goularte but hit the man's stepfather who was in the car with him, along with his mother. The stepfather did make a full recovery. Velasquez has been in prison since late February and has been consistently denied bail. Just days after his arrest, UFC President Dana White and several other fighters, including his longtime AKA teammate Khabib Nurmagomedov and featherweight Yair Rodriguez, all wrote letters of support for Cain, pleading with the judge to grant him bail. The letters were revealed this week by Cain's attorney, Mark Garagos, in a bid to get a California appellate court to grant his release. What are your thoughts on this? Today's video was packed with some juicy stories from the fight world. What are your thoughts about what's going on in MMA? Don't forget to smash the like button and subscribe to the MMA Zone to see more videos just like this. See you next time.